I don't agree.
Okay.
And you're never going to get me to agree by saying it's the left-wing position. It's a pro-trans position. I don't think it's a pro-trans position at all.
Just offer a platform.
Okay.
You don't have to agree.
All right.
Things got pretty heated on last Friday's TYT Power Panel after guest Francesca Fiorentini challenged host Cenk over the Imani Khalif story. So there's that controversy. I think anybody who's been watching my show, pretty familiar with the controversy. I've been covering the story after the right wing decided it'd be a great idea to attack a female Olympian athlete for essentially not fitting into a very narrow definition of femininity. Okay, they accused her of being a male, despite the fact that she was born female, raised as a female, competed as female, and has been beaten by other female athletes in the past. It wasn't an issue until right-wing weirdos decided to make it an issue. Okay, so now, of course, the right wing is unhinged. We know that. No amount of facts, logic, and reason is going to change their minds. But I still do have hope that facts will work on people who say they're allies, like Cenk. Now, he took this position during this debate, and he decided he was going to call the IOC and Francesca and my position extreme for wanting to abandoning sex testing for the Olympics.
You have an extreme position that says, no, we don't ever ask anyone. And I think the Olympics position is actually absurd. They don't do any genetic testing. They don't do any testing. So you could, since they don't do any testing at all, you can just walk in, call yourself a female, not be trans. Trans people are actually.
Do it, Cenk, do it.
Okay, yeah, all right, well, you can say it, but then what's going to happen?
Rugby,
Somebody's going to do it, and they're going to get away with it, and then everybody's going to be furious, okay? It's, all right, I can't stand it. And it doesn't help trans people at all to have these extreme positions. Oh, yeah, don't test anyone, just take their word for it. I think it's terrible politics.
Okay, so here, Cenk is wrong. Okay, just period, right? His example of what, if you don't have testing, since you don't have testing, well, then somebody's obviously going to come in and call themselves a woman, and then everybody's going to be furious. Well, that right there is a complete and utter fallacy. This has never happened before. This is an imagined scenario, okay? And one, by the way, that actually brought about testing in the first place. So look, over 10,000 female athletes were sex tested between the years of 1966 and 1998, and not one single male imposter was ever discovered, okay? Not one. But, okay, well, what about before 1966? They had to have a reason to start testing, right? Well, yeah, there was a reason. Turns out there were rumors of communist countries substituting men for women in order to get medals. That's right. This is nothing more than anti-communist hysteria. I mean, that's it. Rumors. No facts whatsoever. Nothing. Now, there were two specifically, Irina and Tamara Press, the Press sisters, right? So they were Russian, and apparently some had deemed them too masculine in appearance, and so people wanted them tested. Oh, you must be secret men. Okay, and this is, again, back in the 60s. Before that, there was another issue, right? There was another, it was a German high jumper named Dora Rotchen in 1938. Now, he was arrested because he had ambiguous genitalia. When he was born, he was pronounced a boy, then a girl by the midwife, and actually lived his childhood as a female named Dora. Now, later on, he changed his name to Heinrich after it was discovered that he was actually a male. Now, it was assumed that he had a DSD, so then, you know, that doesn't really fit the narrative of him trying to impersonate a female, as he legitimately believed up until, you know, puberty. Is like, I don't know, I'm a girl, I'm a woman. Oh, it turns out that I might not be. I don't know what I am. So now, of those though that were tested fully, they actually did find 27 women with XY DSDs, but no secret males between 66 and 98. So, I mean, there it is. Now, at least 12 athletes were excluded based on failed chromatin-based sex tests. However, those tests were shown to be ultimately inadequate. So what Cenk is doing is that he's making up a straw man argument, okay? A hypothetical. That is, again, not really happened in the history of the Olympics, okay? A lot of rumors, a lot of innuendo, right? And a lot of, oh, we got to get them commies. We got to fight against the commies because we think that they're actually putting men in there to try to take our gold medals. But it's not reality, okay? Now, let's get to the testing, by the way, and why the IOC and Francesca are actually not in the extreme. Why proposing testing is actually more of an extreme position. So, sex testing violates the range of internationally protected fundamental rights: privacy, dignity, health, non-discrimination, freedom from ill treatment, and employment rights. These punitive regulations push female athletes into unnecessary medical examinations and procedures that are conducted in very coercive environments. I mean, they would do literal genital checks where you would, as a female athlete, would have to disrobe and just show me your junk to a panel of experts, which are usually white men. So that's the reality of what female athletes who want to, compete, because it is an honor to compete in the Olympics, this is what they would have to do. They would have to suffer these indignities in order to qualify. And again, if they look too masculine, oh, then we're going to have to go and test you. We're going to have to see whether or not you're a secret male. And generally, that tends to be directed at racial minorities who get questioned far more often than white women. And let's be honest about that. So now, in 2018, the Special Rapporteur on the Right to Health, the Special Rapporteur on Torture and Other Cruel and Inhumane or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, and the Working Group on the issue of discrimination against women in law had wrote a letter to the IAAF. Here are what the experts believe. Quote, the regulations reinforce negative stereotypes and stigma that women in the targeted category are not actually women, and that they either need to be fixed through medically unnecessary treatment with negative health impacts, or compete with men, or compete in any applicable intersex or similar classification, which can call into question their very definition of self. Now, as far as I know, there isn't any intersex classification in the Olympics. So, if you were forced to do that, then you're not going to be competing against anybody. Seems pretty ridiculous and extremely discriminatory. And that's one of the problems, right? Now, in 2009, by the way, the IAAF disqualified a South African runner named Caster Semenya on the grounds that her testosterone levels were too high. Now, it was later revealed that the athletic bodies had forced her to take medically unnecessary drugs in order to lower her testosterone levels so that she could keep competing. Those drugs had some adverse side effects. The result, she said, is that it made you feel sick, nauseous, you have panic attacks, it creates a little bit of blood clots in your system. Yikes. Your stomach is burning, you eat a lot, you can't sleep, you sweat a lot each day. So not only is it, again, deeply uncomfortable to take these medications, but also medically unnecessary because there was nothing wrong with her before. There's another case, Annette Negesa, a middle distance runner from Uganda. She was given a surgery that was, again, unnecessary, sprung on her because she also had elevated levels of testosterone. Now, she was actually lied to about this and told she was just going to get a very, very simple surgery, like an injection, and then found out afterwards that she had had an orchiectomy, which is the removal of internal testes, which was the reason that she had an elevated testosterone level. Okay? So now, following that, though, the university ended up canceling her scholarship. Her international manager ceased contacting her, and she ended up having to flee from her home country of Uganda to avoid persecution for not being a male, but for having a DSD. That's it. That's it. Now, what about the testosterone? Is the testosterone, and the issue here is, of course, fairness, right? If you've got more testosterone, then it means you have an unfair advantage. Is it not? Seems pretty subjective. According to retired endocrinologist Peter Sankson, telling CNN in 2021 that while there is good evidence to show muscle bulk does increase with increasing dosages of testosterone. And certainly you can say that, well, okay, they're Olympic athletes, and Olympic athletes, they already train, they already hone their muscles, they do a lot of strength training. And so the additional testosterone gives them an incredible amount of unfair advantage over, over any competitors. Now, all Olympic athletes have advantages way over the average person, right? But as far as like competitors, is there that much of an advantage over someone who is similarly trained but has less testosterone? We don't really know, but the relationship between blood testosterone level and performance remains both complex and controversial, according to an endocrinologist. So, not really sure, but I would say seems more of a skill issue to me. Because look, at the end of the day, the nature of sports is unfair. There are going to be people with biological advantages. All right? So, I mean, look, I'm 5'9". I'm not going to be playing very good basketball against somebody who is naturally 6'5". Am I going to say, well, that's not fair? That person is too tall. They should not be able to play. No. No. That's not what we're able to do. And by the way, there are ways to negate said advantages. Training, skill. I have no skill, so I can't play ball. Okay? But there are ways to try to negate that height advantage, and in some cases, strength advantages. It all depends on the sport, right? And that's why I do believe that height and weight classes are ways that you can make sure to have some sort of fairness in these sports. And they already do have weight classes in a lot of these different sports. So, and by the way, getting back to the advantages, right? There's this idea that a penis, gives you an innate advantage in sports. Tell that to the pole vaulter whose penis actually caused him to lose. Just saying. Just saying. But anyway, look, no one is exactly the same, okay? No one is exactly the same. Everybody is different, and what this testing actually has proven is that there's a lot of variability in the human form. In fact, look, let's get back to the kinds of testing, though, that were done and why it's not really, why it doesn't work. Now, Jamie Schultz, professor with Penn State University's Department of Kinesiology, said over time people have looked at people's genitalia, mainly, okay, women. They've looked at women's genitalia, they've looked at chromosomes, they've looked for a specific gene, they've looked at testosterone. And what we end up with is the understanding that there's really no clear-cut definition of sex, because each of these iterations of testing is kind of collapsed under its own weight. Yeah, the sex testing actually did more to publicize the fact that we're different, that there's platonic differences between, distinctions between men and women that greatly underestimate the variability of the human form. So women are different. There's a lot of different, variations in female anatomy as well as male anatomy, men and women. So we are, I mean, if anything, it destroys the conservative arguments of only men, only women, two sexes, two genders, that's it. No, this kind of destroys all of that. So congratulations for actually embracing the science in a very weird way, okay? Now, that said, very important to notice that men have not been tested in such a way. They've never had that. Only women, and women who appear too masculine, and oftentimes it is delineated on racial lines. Black women, too masculine, too masculine. Now, what happens to them? Well, this is some of the worst things that could happen to them that happen as a result of just being accused of being too masculine. Interviewees described intense self-questioning. This interviewee's talking to the Human Rights Campaign on, after having to go through the scrutiny. They described shame, withdrawal from the sports, even if it was their livelihood, and some had even attempted suicide. While those who refused testing were subject to rampant rumors about their sexuality. And again, this is despite finding 0 instances of men impersonating women to play in women's sports. look, I'm 100% with Francesca. This is a human rights issue. Women have been subjected to the most humiliating and invasive examinations in the in the supposed cause of fairness. And if they fail when they have a DSD, it's absolutely devastating because, again, born women, live their lives as women, trained as women, competed as women, gotten all their achievements as women, okay? And yet they fail a test and realize, oh, maybe I have more testosterone than the average woman, or oh, maybe I have an XY chromosome as a result of like something like Swire's syndrome, right? Where I still have, I still have all the parts and pieces of a female, at least on the outside. Sometimes you don't have things like fallopian tubes or uterus or something like that, but you have all the external genitalia, and as far as you know, you have lived your life as a woman. Suddenly you're being told that you are not who you say you are, and are not only that, accused of then changing your sex to have a competitive advantage. That is just absolutely devastating to be accused of such things. And that's what's been going on with Amani Khalif. And that's what's happened to, many of these women before. And again, most of them happen to be either brown or black women. The two previous ones that I mentioned were both black women. So that's who gets scrutinized, okay? And again, subjecting women to this, athletic women, scares women out of sports, for one, out of actually doing sports. And again, doing this just for, oh, gold medal this, gold medal that, seems just utterly ridiculous. I don't give a damn about it. I'm sorry, I don't care about sports. I care about human rights. So Cenk is wrong on this. He's wrong on the policy, he's wrong on the facts, and he's on the wrong side of history. About the only thing that he is right about is that currently it is bad politics. Because people don't understand. But that's where we should be educators. We should be saying, but this is the reality, okay? This is the reality. And look, it may be unpopular, but that's how a lot of civil rights issues start out as. Just being unpopular. Until it's not. So, huge props to Francesca. She did fantastic in this, and is somebody who stands up for human rights and properly frames the issue as it is. And I do hope that one day we'll all be able to get through to Cenk and have him realize, oh, turns out you're right, this is a human rights issue. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.